In one of my previous posts, I mentioned that after 75 days of being married, I asked for a divorce. And really, it was 60 days. But I was like, maybe you tripping. Give it a second. Wait a minute. See, what's up. But at day 75, there was like an event that happened. And I was just like, no, ain't no way I'm finna stand this. I don't care nothing about no paperwork or none of that. I got to get out of this situation because this ain't it. I'm going to preface this story by saying I have never been a woman to stay in a relationship longer than I need to. I have always been the woman that has gotten away. Now, I'm not going to say that I haven't stayed in situations longer than I should have, but when the light bulb went off, I had no problems leaving. So here's a story on how I got married. And after 75 days of being married, I wanted a divorce. I'm also going to say we didn't even have the opportunity to live together. So we lived in two separate homes. And I mentioned that I dropped the $1,500 for the divorce. So the divorce was a non-contested divorce. So he didn't contest it. And so we didn't have any children together. We didn't have any assets together. We didn't live together. No shared vehicles, no shared accounts, no shared anything. So it was a very kind of in and out process once I filed. So the backstory, I went to FAMU. He went to FAMU too, but that's not how we met. We actually met because he some kind of way found me on Instagram. I'm not sure what video or what picture I posted on Instagram that caught his attention. I can't even remember, but nonetheless, it did. So he initially started DMing me, but it was just friendly. He initially let me know, hey, you graduated from FAMU. I did too. So that was literally the conversation started. So if you know anything about FAMU, we're one big family. So if a person says, oh, you graduated from FAMU, I graduated from FAMU, that's an immediate conversation. So that's initially how we met. So it was just friendly conversation. Now, I will say this. He mentioned that he had graduated from FAMU, and I said, yo, me too. But I'm kind of leery when guys slide in my DMs. So I might respond, but I respond very short. You graduated from FAMU? I did too. Whatever. So he would comment on my pictures. He would comment on my videos. And I took it with a grain of salt. I was like, whatever. But he kept being consistent with commenting and with sliding in my DM. So it went from I like that picture to I think you're a gorgeous woman. And then it went to where are you located? What city are you located? So you talked about I let him know in Atlanta. And he was like, oh, me too. I just moved up here not too long ago, Bob. So he asked me on a coffee date, which is should have been red flag number 1. So I politely responded to him, I don't do coffee dates. I have a nice Keurig in my house with all the bells and the whistles. I don't need to get in my car. I don't need to get dressed. I don't need to drive in Atlanta traffic for no coffee. So if a coffee date is what you're offering, I'm not interested. He responds back, okay, it's no problem. Cool. What we could do a restaurant. We could get drinks, eat drinks, get food, whatever, talk over food in a nice restaurant. So I left him on red for like a couple of days because the coffee date thing didn't sit well with me. I'm like, who is like, I don't do coffee dates.
Dang, I thought coffee dates was like a mature type of thing, you know? I thought that would have been like a cool little, like, hey, you want to get a little coffee date? A little respectable. I feel like that's respectable. But anyways, before we get into the rest of these parts, now, you will hear her skipping a lot in the video. It's because I cut out a lot of repetitiveness in the videos. I know you guys like when I cut it. It just makes it flow a lot better. I got straight to the point. I think I cut out like 45 to 50 minutes of the video. You already know what to expect when you come to Messy Stories. And I know you guys love that. So I did take it there for you guys.
So he responded again and he was like, I'm not sure if you got my message, but I'd like to take you out. So I was like, you know what? Cool. Ain't no harm in meet him. I will drive my car and meet him out. So we decided to go out on a Tuesday. So infamous Taco Tuesday. So I met him at a real nice taco place in downtown Atlanta. Now, another thing that happened when I got downtown to the taco place, Atlanta's downtown is crazy with parking. It's awful. So it took me, I was probably like 30 minutes late, and I'm not usually late, but I was about 30 minutes late because for the life of me could not find where to park. So I shot him a quick message and let him know I'm going to be late because I'm having a hard time figuring out where to park. So he was giving me instructions, and he was like, I can come out there and show you where to park. Long story short, I found out where to park, got into the restaurant, and met him in the restaurant. So I left off. We met at the taco place downtown. Let me also say this. He was not really my type physically. And I don't even have a type physically, but he wasn't my type physically, if that makes sense. So I get to the taco place. He's there, dressed really nice. Slacks, a button-down shirt, glasses, dressed really nice. Very welcoming, very well-spoken. Hey, nice to meet you. We sit down. He asked me what I would like to order. We get my order, and we're just chopping it up. Nothing too deep. He's just telling me where he's from. I'm telling him where I'm from. Just normal, casual first date conversation. So first date goes well. He walks me to my car. I go home, let him know I made it home, whatever. Exchange numbers so we continue to converse. He lets me know that his birthday is coming up and that he's going to be taking a trip for his birthday. So, whatever. Whatever. So he goes and takes the trip for his birthday. Now, I'm the type of woman, I don't call a man. I don't text a man. Even if we are in a relationship, I'm not calling your phone. I'm not texting your phone first. Call it what you want. I just don't. If a man wants to talk to me, he will reach out to me, whether that's text, call, whatever. So the whole time he was on his birthday trip, he would call, he would text, let me know. We would have little short conversations. He let me know he was having a good time on his trip. One particular time, he FaceTimed me, and he had on this hoodie. And I was like, wow, I really like that hoodie. Where'd you get that hoodie from? And he was like, I got it out here in Vegas. And I'm kidding around, and I'm like, oh, get me one, because I really like that. Long story short, he ends up buying the hoodie and bringing it to me, giving it to me when he gets back in town. So if I'm remembering correctly, when he got back from his birthday trip, we went on a second date, I believe. Regular conversation, everything's going well. Then he invites me over to his house. We start talking about the area that we live in, and he lives on the total opposite end from where I live. So at first I'm like, I ain't really trying to go to his house. I don't really know him. I ain't trying to do that. But I went against it, and I was like, what is it gonna hurt? I'll go down there. I had mentioned to him that I was cooking. I'm a person that I cooks. It has nothing to do with anybody else. That's what I like to do. So he was like, bring me some. Cool, whatever. So I drive down to his house and I bring the food. And so I was like, oh, where we finna go to eat? Because I'm not finna sit in here. Where we finna go to eat? So he was like, all right, where you want to go? And I'm like, I want seafood. So he's like, I know this seafood place, whatever. So we go on a date. He didn't contest it or anything. So we went on a date to the seafood place. Again, nice time. Conversation is flowing. We leave the date. We go back to his house. We're listening to music. We're just chopping it up, chatting it up. Cool. Oh, let me say this. When I got to his house, it was a house. It wasn't an apartment. Nothing against apartments. But I'm like, oh, he got a house. I'm scoping the scene or whatever. So the house is nice and clean. He's cleaned up. He got the candles on. I go use the restroom. The restroom is clean. So you clean up or whatever. That date is over. So I leave his house that night. Now, before I go into part 3, I'm going to say this. I don't like men. And in most cases, I do not take them serious. It's for the moment. It's for a good time. If you talk to my sisters, my cousins, my friends, they will tell you. Now, I find men attractive. I'm not attracted to women, but there are not a lot of good men at the core. And I've always known that. I didn't know how to explain it when I was younger, but I always felt it. Like something about them. I don't really care for them. They cool. And yes, I've slipped up a time or two and been caught off guard. Players fuck up. But Part three. So after I spent time in his home, we went on another date, I believe. And then after that, we were talking more and more on the phone, texting throughout the day. So then he asked basically if we could be in a relationship exclusively. So I'm like, cool. I'm just going with it. Cool. At that point, he comes to my house. I think it was a football game on. So my sister and I, we were eating. We had the hookah. We had drinks. We were watching football. So he came over to watch football. So after the game went off, he started expressing his deep feelings for me and telling me how he's never met a woman like me and how he just really enjoys my company and he just really wants to be with me. And let me back up a little bit. I forgot to tell y'all his occupation. So he's a lawyer. I'm a college professor. And keep that in mind as I continue to tell the story. So he starts to tell me how he feels and he's never met a woman like me. Oh, yes. And I have one son. So my son is 12 and he has two kids by the same woman. But his kids are younger than mine. And that's one of the rules that I broke because I don't date men that have more than one kid. And I don't date men if they have more than one, their children are younger than my son. And y'all don't jump down my throat, but I just don't want to be involved with a man with small children. That's my preference. I prefer a man that has one or none. But I don't typically like to be involved with men that have multiple children that are smaller than mine. That's too much work. When it's time for you to get them, that means I gotta be trying to adjust my schedule and all that. But because it seemed to be a good situation, it was by the same woman, I was like, all right, cool. Again, went against the grain, red flag. So fast forward, I'm at his house on one night. We're having a good time. And he was like, I really been thinking about marriage and I could see myself getting married to you. So I'm like, now this ain't the first time that I've been asked to get married. I've been proposed to. My son's dad proposed to me twice with two different rings. The guy proposed to me and the guy after him proposed to me. And for me, I just said I don't really care for men like that. And I always knew I never wanted to get married in my 20s or early 30s. I just didn't want my 20s to be tied down with being married. And hell, I didn't want to be a mama in my 20s either, but shit happens. And that happened late in my late 20s, but it happens. I accepted it. It is what it is. We were sticking and moving. So he starts to talk about marriage and he was like, I really see myself being with you. And in hindsight, I fit the bill. And when I say I fit the bill, he's a lawyer and he's a lawyer that likes to be involved in organizations all over the city. So he's always trying to be somewhere on the scene, trying to network, trying to get his name out there, trying to get his face out there. And he thought again that I fit the bill because I went to FAM. I'm a college professor. I got my shit together. So I fit the bill on paper. So long story short, he asked me to marry him. I say, and don't jump down my throat again, but I didn't really take it serious like that. It was just like, oh, he want to get married. Oh, let's get married. That's kind of how I said it. And he was like, no, I'm serious. I really want to get married. So I was like, because at this point, I'm just like, he probably not going to be the man that I stay married to for my whole life. But I'm in my 30s. People always ask.
Hell no. Let's talk about this real quick. Now, mind you, I'm in my 30s too. I just turned 30, so we can have this talk. Yeah, we grown now. So mind you, they in their 30s. Why are you wasting this man time? So you telling me this man asked you, can you marry me? Would you marry me? And you said yes, knowing that you wasn't gonna be with him forever. Listen, we do not judge. But if I find out this was a good man all the way throughout this video, I'm gonna lose my shit. I'm gonna lose my shit. He better did something so crazy that it just better just make sense towards the end of this video. Cause right now, this is crazy. And what y'all think about all the clipping? Y'all, what y'all doing? You know, we already through part 3. You ain't even realize it yet. Keep on watching. It's gonna flow very quickly. Trust me.
When you gonna get married, it ain't gonna hurt nothing. It's a notch in my belt. When it's all said and done, I could be like, oh, I done already been married. What else you got? Because when you get a certain age as a woman, people are like, well, when you gonna get married? we don't have more kids. I have always been very successful in my education. I've always been successful in my career. But my love life has always been, and he just caught me in a moment. And I was just like, you know what? Let's do it. So he writes me this long letter because he's a writer, so he likes to write. And so he writes me this long letter expressing his feelings to me, like a old school love letter. I still have that letter. And so we set a date to get married, which is a week away or so, something like that. So fast forward to the day where it's time for us to go to the courthouse and get married. Now, we had a conversation, and in that conversation about getting married, I told him that I did not want a big wedding. I wanted something intimate, very small, very personable. But if you remember me mentioning, he is very outlandish. He always wants to be on the scene, gotta have a whole bunch of people around, gotta put on a show. But he said, not only that, I also said, all right, if we do this and we go get married, I have my own place. So I'm not giving up my own place. I'll come over here or whatever, but I got a place and I'm gonna keep my place. And I've always said if I got married, at least that first year of marriage, I'm gonna be in my own house because I need to see how things pan out. Because people can pretend for a long time and then you get in a situation and you like, whoa. And I'm actually not against being married and having my own house the whole marriage. But I also told him that we needed to be married for at least 1 year before we told people. We told all of our family and we told all of our friends. I was like, I'll wear the ring and people can just think that I'm engaged for the first year. You just keep it private and work through it, because anybody that has been married, or from what I've been told, the first year of marriage is the hardest year of marriage. And for me, again, I'm very private. So me even telling this story is a big jump for me because I don't really get on the internet and tell my personal business. But I feel like there are a lot of women who get married and realize that the person that they're married to, that they don't want to be married to that person anymore because of it. And it could be in a short period of time, and then they feel like I got to stay married to this person because I've signed this paper and I've made these vows. And they think even though that person may be mistreating them or not treating them the same as they did when they got together and doing the things that made them want to be with that person might switch up or that person might start cheating. And a lot of times women feel as though they have to stick it out in these marriages. And so I'm here to tell my story that you don't have to stick it out. So if he's not treating you the way that you need to be treated, then you can leave. I don't care if y'all been married for 10 days. I also got the question a lot.
Please, listen. Please don't follow this instruction. Please, y'all, listen to me. Listen to the sound of my voice. Through better and worse. All right. Now, if you and your partner if y'all already took the initiative to get married. Now, I've been married and I've been divorced, but I was married for 5 years, and I married young, so I get a little pass. I get a little I was 21. Calm down. All right. Don't play with me right now. But if I could take something from that relationship, I can say this. At least I can say we tried, right? Like, we even went to counseling and stuff like that. It's just we got married young. It just didn't work out because we obviously didn't know each other well enough, right? And it was fast, just like how this girl was talking, like quick. Like, I mean, probably in the first 6 months, we was friends for a little bit, then we got married quick. So I want to tell that fast. But I don't like the advice she just gave everybody, because at the same time, it's like, you want to work on things. Like, even in a relationship, the first year in a relationship is hard, especially if y'all living together. Like, you got to learn the person. And in her methods, it just seems as though she's saying, like, well, if he don't work, like, in the first 10 days, get up out of there. Like, no, that's not how you build relationships. That's not how you build a bond with somebody. Like, yes, I mean, maybe she should have waited to get married then. If this was the standards, then why not just wait to get married? But Messy Fan, what do y'all think? Am I off? Like, are y'all agreeing with what I'm saying right now? Let me know in the comment section, because that's how I'm feeling. But let's keep watching.
About the annulment process. So I did look into the annulment process, but the annulment process is very specific. There has to be some specific guidelines in order to get an annulment. You just can't get an annulment because you don't want to be married to that person no more. Like, you have to prove in depth that this person misled you, which he did, but it would have taken quite a bit of time for me to prove that. And in the state of mind that I was in, I just wanted the situation to be over. So the annulment process was a no-go for me. So back to it. So the day of, we get to the courthouse to get married. The courthouse is closed. It ain't no big federal holiday. The courthouse is closed. It's cold. The courthouse is closed. Y'all, that was my sign. Nonetheless, go out to eat. Cool. Everything is good. We go back to his house. We're hanging, we're chilling, and we like, you know what? We'll just go back tomorrow and get the marriage license and sign the paperwork. So we go back the next day. I get in the courthouse, so I'm dressed, and it's very cold outside. So I have on these long boots. So I go in the courthouse, and you got to go through the metal detectors and put your stuff through the metal detectors and all that. So I had some lotion in my purse, and the lady was like, that size lotion is too big. You can't bring that in here. So you either have to take it back to the car or you gonna have to throw it away. I was like, you know what? Don't worry about it. Just throw it away. I attempted to walk through the metal detector, but because my boots were so high, they were like, you're going to have to take your boots off. We got to see, you can't walk through this with those boots on. So it made me have an attitude. What? I got to take my shoes off to walk through here. So nonetheless, took the boots off. Another red flag. Girl, I'm trying to show you and you ain't paying attention. I wasn't paying attention. So get through. He's putting my boots back on for me, being kind, being nice, whatever. So we get up there. Process, you got to go up to the floor. You got to sign in. You got to tell him what you're applying for. So he paid for it. So we're sitting there. So we go to the back. The lady is just verifying all of our information, making sure we are who we say we are. So we get to the part about the name. And so I wanted to hyphenate my name. And so he was looking at me and he was like, I want you to have my last name. I had no intentions of changing my name. My last name was not going to be changed. I'm not changing my last name unless I'm probably, and I really don't have to get married anymore. Been there, done that. I don't know. We'll probably have to be married 5 or 10 years before I change my name. I'm not changing my name. I would at least hyphenate my name. So I'm just like, whatever. I ain't worried about that because that's a whole nother process. I have to come back and I have to change my name. We went through the process. We get out and we now have to get the reverend to officiate. So he's a member of a church. Another thing, when he met me, we talked about spirituality. We talked about God. I let him know that I have a good relationship with God. He took me saying that I have a relationship with God to mean that I am very religious. Now, hold on to that because that's going to come back up. But he is very religious. I'm going to let y'all ponder on that for a minute. So he calls his reverend to officiate it, and the reverend's like, cool, I'll be there in an hour. So we go get something to eat. Only way to get something to eat, he calling his sisters, he calling his cousins, he calling his friends. Oh, I just got married. So he gets off the phone and I was like, I thought I told you that we're not telling anybody that we're married. We gonna keep it between us and see how things go. And he's just like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm just so excited about it. I'm just so happy to be a married man. I'm just so happy to have a beautiful wife. I just think you're amazing. You're the most amazing woman that I ever met. And I just want to tell everybody about it. There was no way I was going to let you. I had to wife you up. I couldn't just let you go. So we get to the church and the reverend brings his wife with him. So before we start the officiating process, I go use the restroom. The wife also is in the restroom with me. And so he sparks up conversation and she was telling me how her and her husband had only known each other for 3 months and they got married and they had been married for 30 years. And she was just giving me old school advice about marriage. But she also told me to not lose myself in the marriage and to always be the center of my marriage and don't make him the center of my marriage. And so I held on to that. And I've always said that a man is not going to be the center of my universe. But I held on to that. And so we get up there and he starts the officiating process. So we go through the officiating process, and the wife that I mentioned earlier is recording this. So I still have a copy of it. So we didn't write out any vows or anything like that. It was just the standard vows or whatever. So we go through that process. We have dinner scheduled after that for he and I. So like private little upscale dinner for he and I. He also was like, he wanted me to have a certain type of ring. So we go to the jewelry store. Well, he goes to the jewelry store, and there are other stores in the area. So while he's in the jewelry store, I'm in other areas shopping, looking at other stuff. So he comes out with the ring, puts the ring on my finger, all of that. So we go out, get the food, and then we go get line and stuff after that to go back to his house to talk about where we want to go for the honeymoon and taking a trip. And so it was great. I will say I was kind of like, what the hell have I done? What made me do this? Not that I thought it was a bad idea. It's just I'm an overthinker, and I told y'all I had been proposed to several other times and I said no. And so in my mind, I'm like, why did I tell this man yeah? But again, the man is successful. He has his own everything, seemingly. And I was just doing something. I also want to clear that up, and I want to make sure that I'm using my words correctly. Now, when I said I ain't take the situation serious, by no means did I mean I was out to see what I could get or mistreating him or nothing like that. That's not what I meant. I am a very kind person, and I would never intentionally do something to harm someone or anything like that. If you had a conversation with any of my exes, they'll tell you. I'm a very kind person. When I'm in that role, I do what needs to be done. However, again, I'm just not the type of woman that's just gonna fall down over a man. I take men at face value. If that's what you said, cool. I let the chips fall where they may. I'm not gonna fall and just be head over heels and just act like I don't see what's going on, and I don't take you for what you are. And when you start showing me who you are, putting things in my mind and say, no, that can't be it. I take men for who they are. And I'm very intuitive. And because of that, it doesn't allow me to become so engulfed in a situation where I'm just down bad about a man. I'm never going to be down bad about a man. Because again, I know who they are at face value. But I also understand the society that we live in. I was also raised around a family of women who were married. The women in my family are married and have been married for a very long time. The only person that told me the truth about marriage was my grandmother before she passed away. All the other women in my family did not sit down and have real deal conversations with me about what marriage truly is and what it looks like. My mother has been married for 30 something years, and my mother has never sat down and had a real life. I ain't talking about and y'all might feel away with me saying this, but I don't want nobody pulling out no Bible to talk to me about marriage. I want to know what it really looks like. And the reason why I say that is because men weaponize religion to oppress women in marriage, and that's what he started to do. As I mentioned, he was a very religious man. So soon after us getting married, the mask started to fall off and he stopped cleaning up. I went to his house and his house was disgusting. It almost looked like Mr. House looked from The Color Purple when Celie had first got over there and she had to clean up and get all that shit in order. And I was like, house filthy. Oh, you my wife. That's a part of your role. It's a part of your role to cook and clean and all of that. No, sir. So he started with that. He started using the religion as to weaponize the marriage. And I'm like, this man don't really know who he married. Again, because, see, I fool a lot of men too. When men are in relationships with me, I am, again, very reserved. I'm very laid back. I'm very kind. And men don't know how to handle that. But I'm also very mean, and I don't play that shit. Now, if you get me to a point, well, I don't play that shit. And again, any man that I've dated will tell you, Lakita is mean, but I'm kind. So I'm very kind, but I don't play that shit. So he started with that. House just a mess. He also started putting things on my calendar. And when I say put things on my calendar, like I told y'all, he liked to be on the scene. So he'll be like, oh, I got this event that we got to go to on such and such day at 8 o'clock. That's your event. That's not my event. Again, I'm reserved. I don't got to be on the scene. I only step out when I need to step out. I understand being a supportive wife and supporting your husband through his dreams and whatever he got going on. But he was like, OD, y'all. Every event, I don't want to be on the scene on no Tuesday night. And I done worked all day. I got a child. I don't want to be on the scene. I don't want to go to that. I want to come home and read and work out. I had my own life and I had my own hobbies. And that was a problem.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't marriage about becoming equally yoked? Like, meaning that you two are like moving as a unit in a sense. Like, it's okay to have your own personal life inside of your marriage, but also to be kind enough to like. She pretty much just said that she be capping. Like, she pretends to be a nice person, but deep down she's mean. That's what she just said. I don't care how watered down that was. I don't care how, like, I don't care. I think maybe a better choice of words, but pretty much what you just said is that your mask came down as well. Like, I'm confused. Like, if he wants you to go to an event with him, just go. Like, I feel like she, up until this point in the video, I can say I feel like she just married for the title. Like, she just want to tell people after a year, like, oh, I'm married, I got the title. She just want the title so she can be like husband, wife, you know. But it don't make sense. She just came in with too many like. Okay, you want to wait after the first year to tell everybody? Nah, I disagree, but whatever. But then you don't want my last name, and then you don't want me to like. You don't want to live with me, and then like it. I just don't understand. I feel like this should have been talked about before the marriage, and I think she did say that they talked about the living situation. I don't know if she said. I just heard her say like they got married, and then after that, she just told him that she gonna keep her stuff. Like, she's not going into like his place, which is like okay. But I feel like it's just why did y'all get married? Why did you marry this man? Up until this point, why did you marry him? Is it about the money? I'm not trying to say you're a gold digger. I'm just trying to ask you, like, what else is there? You said you wasn't physically attractive to him, and he's not your type. So if he's not your type, what was it? You said you was asked by other men. Then why did you tell him yes? This is playing with people. You said I don't do anything to like intentionally harm people. But wouldn't you guys say, Messy Fam, that that's some intentional, like some shit you would do to intentionally harm somebody? Like, you knew you wasn't going to stay with him forever, but you married him, and you knew that would make him very happy, but you knew deep down you wouldn't be with him? You don't think that would hurt him? You don't think that's just accountability. I'm just real big on accountability with these stories. Like, take a little accountability, girl. You're a little bit too strong. I'm like, okay, we get it. Independent woman, we got it. Like, you ain't giving this man no chance. You already coming in very pessimistic, and it's like, damn, girl. I'm trying to be with you with this story, but it's like, damn, girl.
Problem for him. He wanted me to be a full-on wife up under him, but he wasn't taking care of me. And when I say he wasn't taking care of me, he wasn't providing a life where I could leave my career. Even though I wasn't. I'm never going to do that. But it wasn't presented in that manner. So why you putting all this stuff on my calendar when I got to work and I got to do my own thing? So he would get upset about that, putting things on my calendar. He also started to compare the way that I treat my son to his kids. And I've only seen the kids a couple times. It wasn't a lot because the kids did not live with him. They lived with their mom. And when he had his kids, would be at his house. And I would be at my house with my kid. But when he got his kids, he wanted me to basically stop everything that I was doing and that I had planned and to be there for his kids. So when he got to go run to an event, he want me to be in the house with his kids. And your kids are in town to spend time with you. I'm an educator. I love children. I'm never going to mistreat a child. Never going to do that. But I'm also my own person. And I don't have to be available to your children because you say so. Your kids are here to spend time with you. They're not here to be put off on somebody else while you running in the streets. And hold on, because I'm going to tell y'all about that. He was actually ripping and running in the streets. Let me go back just a little bit because I forgot to mention the honeymoon. So we got married and we're supposed to have a 2-part honeymoon. So the first part of the honeymoon, we went on a trip. He went all out, top of the line, presidential suite, the flowers, the champagne, everything. Whatever I wanted, I got it. Jewelry, everything. Tip top of the line. We went out. We stayed there initially, I think it was like 4 days. Whatever I wanted, I got. Whatever. He did not spare any expense. And I will say that about him. He is very good at planning dates. He's very good at planning trips. He'll go all out when it comes to stuff like that. He's going to go all out. So, had an amazing time. We get to the last day and he's like, do you want to just extend it maybe another day or two so you can relax before you get back into real life? And I'm like, cool. So we do that. We're relaxing, room service, all of that. So it was cool. So I just wanted to say that part. And then where I left off, I was talking about the kids. So I'm trying to think, y'all. I'm like years removed from it. So some parts of it are fuzzy because I literally checked out at parts of it. But I was at his house one evening and when he went out to get us some food, I had on my Apple Watch. He has an Apple Watch, but I had forgot my watch charger at my house. So I went to put my watch on the charger and his watch was on the charger. So when I went to put my watch on and get his watch off, he got a notification that came up on the screen and it was from a woman. So I clicked on it. Voila, it opened up. And I'm reading the conversation. And she asking him where he's been, why she hasn't talked to him. Full blown relationship. She don't know what she did, why he's doing this to her, why he went MIA, why he's missing. And she's literally begging him to talk to her. I'm scrolling and I'm reading the responses. So he responds when he's not around me or when I'm somewhere doing something, not paying attention. I ain't looked through no phones. I typically don't do that. But me pulling that watch off of there was like a sign from God, I feel like. So I'm scrolling. He got another woman. Where you at? I haven't talked to you. And I'm scrolling and it's woman after woman. And it's literally probably 7 or 8 women in there. Here's where it get interesting. This man got some Christian Grey, 50 Shades of Grey type stuff going on with some of these women. Because they're telling him, oh, I miss it. I miss when we do this. We need another wild night of this and that. I won't go into detail. I won't tell all the man business. But just know it was on some 50 Shades of Grey type shit. Another thing, this man is getting money from these women. There was one woman in there and she was like, don't be mad at me, but I can't cash app you any more money. I've reached my cash app limit for the day. I don't have any more money to send you. Just give me a minute. If you give me a minute, I could send you some more money. So not only do he got this 50 Shades of Grey type stuff going on, he got these women all over sending him money and funding his lifestyle. He's taking these women's hard-earned money and giving it to me. Because like I told y'all, no expense spared. My birthday comes, he got it all planned out. Literally whatever I want, I got. But I find out these women are financing his life. So I'm like, he really don't have no money. Which caused me to dig a little bit more into his finances. So all that went on. So he gets back and I bring it up. So I was like, we'll call her Lisa. So I was like, Lisa looking for you. So he gives me this look. And so he was like, Lisa is old news. Lisa is somebody that I used to talk to. I said used to as in yesterday. So he's like, what you talk about? Typical nigga shit, what they do when they call, they try to at first play like they don't know what you're talking about. So you calm. And I'm like, I ain't up for chasing behind no man or none of that. If that's the lifestyle that you want to live and that's what you want to do, I'm out of here. Oh no, it's old. I told her it wasn't no more. She was before your time. There ain't nothing like that. And I've been trying to tell her that it's over with. So I'm like, she's before my time. And he was like, remember when I told you I was going to town for my birthday when we first started talking? She was there. She was with me when I was there. She was who I was with when I was out of town for my birthday. So if y'all remember back, I told y'all he went out of town for his birthday when we first started talking. And he would call and text. And then I told y'all about the hoodie. So he got me a hoodie. And he was like, he just then started to play the, I'm so sorry. So he just really started trying to talk about the lady. She funded me. Like, she was there for me when I first moved up here and I had to start over. And I'm like, what you mean you had to start over? What you talking about? And he was like, well, I ain't tell you I'm going through a situation with the bar. Mind you, I told y'all he a lawyer. And then he has a consulting business on the side. They just got a lot going on with that, with the bar and all that. And she was there for me when I first moved here. But when I met you, I just knew you. I was like, it sounds like you should have been trying to propose to this lady. Because this lady doing things that I ain't gonna never do for you. So I don't understand why you came to me. Come to find out, he was stalking my Instagram. So he had been looking at my Instagram for a long time. And back then, I was posting a lot of teaching content in the college classroom. Just doing a lot of day in the lives of a young college professor and just posting videos about that. That was mainly what my content was. So apparently I came up on his feed. He was intrigued. And so he started following me and keeping tabs on me. So he had been watching me for quite some time before he made his move to slide in my DMs. Before I get into part 7, let me say this. Y'all coming on this page talking about, sis, you should have took it more serious and marriage is sacred and blah. Let me say this. Tell that shit to them niggas who out here that don't take their marriage seriously. Cause me, even though I may not have wanted to at that time or just did something going against my intuition, I was still solid in it. So no one understand that. One thing about me, when I do something, when I make a decision to do something, I'm a grown woman about mine. So by no means is this a pity party or any of that. It's again me telling my story so other women will know that they aren't alone. Men fake all the time. I don't care if you've known a man for 5, 10, 20 years. You don't know a man until you're married to him. You don't know a man until you live with him. So all y'all coming on this page trying to put this shit in my lap, I honored my vows. He didn't. And I can assure you, we are not divorced because of me. So you might want to check that before you come on this page. All right, part 7. So I have the stuff at his house. So I pack all my stuff. My car is full. So I pack all my stuff and he's trying to stop me from leaving. No, don't leave. We could work it out. We could talk it out. It ain't nothing to talk about. You got a whole, this man don't have just one woman, y'all. This man got a phone full of women that he's sleeping with and that he's getting money from and that he's going to their house, he's going on dates, he's doing all of this. Remember now, we don't live together. So I'm not always over there or he not at my house. I have a career. I have hobbies. I'm busy. And he does too. So we're not up under each other 24/7. And we haven't gotten there. So whenever he out of my sight and claim to be working, he over here laid up with women. So I get my stuff. We go at it about it. We fall out about it. So I get my stuff and I go back to my house. He ain't never got to worry about me coming to his house again. Hey, let me say this. He had a very sinister look on his face. The man is a narcissist. And I don't know if you've ever dealt with one, and I know people use this word a lot, but he is a textbook narcissist. He had this look in his eyes and this look on his face. He was like, I got her, if that makes sense. I got her. I got you. So I saw that look and I was like, so after leaving his house, we go probably a couple of days without talking. And so he decides to break the silence and he's apologizing and he's basically saying a lot of that he had to get his system A lot of those women were before us. And again, he knew when he met me, I was the one, but he was just one foot in and one foot out. But us having a little tiff about the situation really brought things into perspective for him. And he just really wanted to try to see if we can make things work. So his kids were supposed to be coming. And so he wanted to plan a trip with all the kids and me and him to go see some family of his. And let me just say this. So I'm listening. And again, even though I honestly didn't really want to get married again, I still honored the process. I still honored what it was because even in that moment, I told him, just give me a minute to think about everything that you're saying. I didn't file the divorce immediately at that point. So he thought that there was still hope. And I led him to believe that, I guess, because I didn't immediately shut it down at that point. I was just basically like, just give me some time to think. I'm going to be at my house. You can be at your house. But he wanted all of us to go on the trip. After thinking about all of us going on the trip, I was like,
Okay, so listen, I take back it, I guess. I mean, so now we get to the gist. He was cheating. Now, I got a question. I'm gonna ask y'all. Don't get mad at me. I'm just asking this question. Do you feel like the neglect is the reason why he kept that foot like into the other realm of other women? Now I know we all gonna be like, why did he get married? What's to get married? I don't know her point why she wanted to get married, and I don't know why he got married if he got all this stuff going on. Don't know what the whole rush on marriage was from the jump from these two. Sounds just like desperation. They don't want to admit it, but that's probably what it was. But what do y'all think, man? What do y'all think? So we know that it's cheating now. So that's probably why. But for all of you guys who want to stick around and hear the rest, I do not blame you because this woman is very like long-winded in a sense. So she's giving us like even more. So I want to know what happened after. Like what happened after. That's what we at now. So if you want to fall off right now, I do not no hard feelings, y'all. But for the rest of you, come on. We're about to watch the rest of this. We're about to see what happened. Like what all transpired after this. Like this is a mess.
cool. So he tells me he's going to get his kids and then he's going to come back. And he plans the trip, pays for the tickets, and he's like, I'm excited. You're going to meet my family. And I'm like, all right, cool. At this time, I was in the process of starting a new job. So they had called me and officially given me a start date. So the start date was that Monday after the weekend that we were supposed to be going out of town together. When they called me to tell me about the job, he had already booked the tickets, had all the travel arrangements set up. Something just in me was like, nope, I ain't going. So I didn't say it to him like that. I was just like, well, I got stuff to do for the job, so I got to be in town. And the trip ain't gonna work for me because I can't change my start date. These people told me this is the day that I have to start, and I have all of my stuff done before my start date, so I can't go. He was pissed. So his kids, they go on the trip. He posting stuff and subliminals the whole time because we followed each other on social media. So he posting subliminal messages and all this the whole time. And I'm just looking. We're not talking on this while he's on this trip because he is pissed off at me. I decided in that moment, this ain't gonna be it. But he calls me when he gets back from the trip. Now, y'all bear with me because this was years ago, and as I tell the story, things are starting to come to my memory. So I'm going to go back just a little bit. So remember I told y'all he was a lawyer and there was some things going on with that. So he was being investigated by the Bar Association for several complaints of misconduct. And so at that time, he was not able to practice law. This is what I found out. I was in my career and my career was thriving. So initially, I was working at a well known school, and then I was also teaching my college courses a couple of evenings out of the week. So, because of his status with the bar, he started asking questions about becoming a college professor. So, what's the requirements? What's the process like? What does the pay look like? If one was interested in applying to work at a university, what would that look like? So he started to share an interest in teaching classes. And so he asked me if there were some positions at the college, one of the colleges that I was teaching at. And so I was like, I don't know, you got to look into it. But I started to notice him being a little bit jealous of me having a thriving career. So fast forward, I told y'all that I got the new job, and because of the new job, I basically told him I can't go out of town with you because I have to finish the paperwork and do everything that they're requiring me to do to start work on Monday. So when I initially got the offer letter for the job, he was like, wow, I didn't know you was applying to them. Do you know how good of an organization this is that you work for? And I was like, he was like, I don't think you understand how big this is. You are going to have connections to all types of people in the city. Big connections. These people are, you're going to be in rooms with major people. And this would just look so good for my image. And so I'm looking at him crazy. And again, I told y'all, he likes to be on the scene. If there's an event in the city where there are politicians or community leaders or powerful educators and people in the legal field, he wants to be on the scene. And so I had let him know that I was going to be working from home. So he was like, wow, you get to work for this type of organization and you get to work from home. And so I remember them sending my offer letter, and me being excited about it. And he was like, why does it say your last name on the offer letter and you haven't changed it to my last name? And I was like, because my last name is what's on my degrees, and my last name is what got me to this point. So that's basically how I responded to that. And so he wasn't feeling that at all. So I just wanted to throw that part in there. He also, because of his status with the bar, he had a couple of friends that were a part of organizations and that had jobs. And so they had connections with attorneys. And so he was trying to interview to do some work for an attorney. And so apparently the attorney was having some sort of event or something. And I guess as a part of that process, the attorney asked him if he was married. And if you know anything about men in their careers and their social status, being married is top tier. They get a lot more respect. They get a lot more money. They get put into positions of more power when they have a wife. Now let's go back. Y'all been jumping down my throat about how I did him, and he wanted to marry me for his status. I looked good on paper. I looked good on his arm. That's why he was pushing for us to get married. So I just want to say that. So he gets back from the trip with his kids and he calls me. And so he's like, we really need to talk. I have the kids for a couple of more days. So if you could make some time in your schedule, I'd really like to meet up. We can go out to eat with the kids and we can have a conversation about what happened with the trip and basically the status of what's going on with us. I agreed. So the day comes, my son and I meet him and his kids at the restaurant. Now keep in mind, this is one of the rare occasions where my son goes with us to stuff because I kept that very separate. Again, I was very strategic. But because his kids was there, I was like, oh, my kid can go. So they can keep each other company. So this was my son's first time meeting his kids too. So it was like, while they're keeping each other company, we could talk. So we at the restaurant and he's just trying to push me to talk to his daughter. Not that I wasn't talking to her, but your kids are, they have to warm up to you. But he was basically, I felt like, trying to use the kids to pull my heartstrings to keep the marriage alive. And so we basically had a conversation and he just let me know how upset he was about me not going on a trip and how he really hoped that we could work it out. And he just feels like I haven't been basically being supportive of him. So trying to basically flip the script, talking about the situations again with the women. Oh, and let me clear that up. I said that there were 7 or 8 women in the phone. Now, I don't have evidence that he was actually doing that with 7 or 8 women. He was doing that with at least 2, and then he had other women that he was getting money from. I don't know how far they took that, but I cannot confirm that he was, in fact, taking it there with at least 7 or 8 women. He just had a mix. He had a couple of women where he was going there with, ones that thought that they were in a relationship. And then he had the ones, specifically, the conversation was about money. And then it seems like he was letting these other women. And again, if you think about it, this was going on, the money situation with the women, because of his status with the bar. So because of that, he was unable to get certain jobs. Now, he also had a legal consulting business, but apparently it was some issues with that. The services that he was providing, he wasn't providing those services good enough based on his clients. And so he was running into issues with that. So apparently money was an issue. So he had to pay his bills, and then he also had to keep me and keep the lifestyle that he portrayed and what he introduced me to. Because remember, I told y'all he spared no expense. So in order to maintain that, he had to have those women giving him money. So we had the conversation over the food, and he was like, well, I'm going to take the kids back. How about you ride with me and we could continue to talk, taking the kids back? So you take my son home. And I was like, all right, cool. I'll ride with them. So we're riding down and we're talking. The kids are asleep in the car. So we're talking. So we get to the destination and the baby mama get out of the car. Mind you, now this is the first time I met her. So he was like, can you get out the car and meet my baby mama? Because I wasn't going to get out the car. I'll say, hey, but I don't want this man no more. So whatever, I'll keep it cool. I'll keep it cordial. So I get out the car. He goes, I just wanted to introduce you to my wife. And the way that she looked at me, y'all. So he introduces me as his wife to the baby mama. And she looked like a deer in headlights. She was very nice, very respectful. I introduced myself. I told her, you're doing an amazing job with the kids. It was short, sweet. I got back in the car. They kept talking about whatever it was that they were talking about. But I could tell that she was surprised. So when he got back in the car, he let out deep breath. And I was like, what you doing all that for? And he was like, I don't know. I just didn't think it was going to go like that. And I was like, why would you think it would go any other way? And he was like, I don't know. That was my baby mama. And we got 2 kids together. And I don't think she thought that I would be getting married. So I'm putting that out in my brain. Oh, they must got something going on. Again, I don't care. I'm leaving. But whatever. So he continued to talk. He continued to basically say, oh, what he said was, I gotta admit some of the stuff that you found in my phone. Some of what you found in my phone is partially true. The parts where you did see me getting money from women, that's just what I was doing when I first moved up here. So I was on dating sites. We ain't meet on the dating site. Nothing wrong with it, but I was on the dating sites, and that's just what I was doing to occupy my time when I first moved up here. So he was on those dating sites scoping out successful women and seeing what he could get out of those women. And he was like, yes, some of those women, I didn't do nothing with them, but I just led them on to believe that we could have something if they give me money. And that's what they was doing. But I was giving it to you. And I was like, this man is a piece of work. So then he goes, and I wanted you to ride down here because I had a surprise for you. I got a spa date set up for you, and I'll take you over here to the spa. Cool. We go to the spa. We have a nice time. We drive back where we at. And he's like, I really want my marriage to work, and I really want us to work this out. Maybe we could go to therapy or something. So I'm like, oh, whatever. So I think the next day, or it was, I can't remember, y'all. It was a couple days later, but he came to my house. I think my son was at school. He came to my house, and then he was just like, we were talking. And then he was just like, I got to go run some errands. And it was kind of abrupt, but he was like, I got to go to some meetings and I got to go handle some things. So I was like, cool. So he leaves. I'm working. So He calls my phone and he's like, I met with somebody who was over some school about some social event. Y'all, I can't remember it because I was blocking it out. He always got some type of social event to try to go to every single day. I don't give a fuck. So he was like, and I told him that we will be there on such and such day. And I paused and I was like, you ain't asked me nothing about going to no meeting. And so no social meeting or whatever it is. And he was like, but you're my wife and I need your support to be there. And I was like, oh, you need my face to be there. And so he was like, but you're also my wife. How I'm going to be at an event with a ring on my finger and my wife is not there to support me? And so I was like, he rubbed me the wrong way, really. He was just getting beside himself. So I was like, first of all, don't be putting nothing on my calendar because you just be running all around town to all these meetings and you ain't making no money. And so he was like, I can't believe you would say something like that to me. And I was like, and furthermore, I have my own meetings to go to that I actually get paid for. So I just started talking real reckless out of my mouth. And it just, I guess it pissed him off. And so he was like, well, we ain't gotta talk no more today or something like that. And so I was like, yeah, whatever. And I hung up the phone. And so after 5 minutes, I was like, what the fuck am I doing? I am so done with this shit. So I sent him a message and I said, since you're a lawyer and we can both agree that you ain't what I want and I'm not going to be the kind of wife you want, since you're a lawyer, we could go ahead and file for that divorce and it shouldn't cost anything because you're a lawyer. You know how to file the paperwork. You're not going to contest it. It should be a clean cut divorce. So he was like, cool. Because I guess he had found, honestly, I think what it was, he had found a new supply. If y'all know a narcissist, y'all know they keep somebody in rotation. So I think what had happened was he had found somebody new. So he thought shit was sweet and he could just beat his chest about it. And he really didn't take me serious is what I think. But he filled it out and he sent me a copy. So he was like, we got to go notarize this. So I was like, cool. And he was like, well, what day can you be available? So I gave him my availability and we met at the bank so we could get it notarized. So I'm walking in the bank. I'm looking good. I'm smelling good. He's already there when I walk in. I'm looking good. I'm smelling good. So as soon as I walk in the bank, the security was like, wow, you're gorgeous. And so I go to sign in. And as I'm coming from signing in, it's another guy. And he was like, oh my God, you're gorgeous. I would really like to get your number. I would really like to take you out. Whole time he's just fuming, just sitting there fuming. But he's still like beating his chest. We gonna go through with it. So I'm ready. So we go back to get the notary to sign. We don't even speak. We don't say anything to each other. Sign. He signed. They give us a copy, and that's that. So he sends me an email, and he has to send me an email because I blocked him. So in the email, he was basically like, something like, I can't believe we're going to go through it with it, but whatever. I'm going to file it and you should get your notification of receipt of filing. So he files it. I get the receipt of filing. So you have to wait. You have a 30-day waiting period before you have to go and appear. But because it's uncontested, just wait in the 30 days. We don't have any assets or anything. It should be a smooth process. He fills out the divorce paperwork wrong on purpose. He also didn't serve me properly on the divorce papers. So after 30 days, I didn't receive nothing. What's going on? So I called the court and they just told me basically there was a delay with processing and just give it some time. So I'm like, another month go by. I don't get served. I don't get anything. It's just sitting there. Now, mind you, I told him to file it because he's a lawyer. So he knows what to do. If we agree, there's no need to pay another lawyer for the divorce. If he could just do it, I could just sign it. I don't care if it says he's the petitioner and I'm the respondent. I don't care about none of that. Let's just sign this paperwork. So part 10. Now let me add a little bit of tidbit before I go back to the divorce process. So he took me to his childhood house. His parents had passed on. And so they had left the house and the property to him. And so it was quite a bit of land. And so he was like, as my wife, you can tell me what you think I should do with the property, and he was like, it can be a vacation house for us. So when we come, we want to get out the city, we can come here and we can just relax. But my baby mama been asking me if she could move in the house with the kids because the house is paid off. So there's no mortgage on the house. But it's in the country. So I wasn't interested in moving to the country, but it was a nice idea to go to the house when you wanted to have a vacation. So he brings this house up again, as a matter of fact, when we're leaving from with the baby mama, and I forgot this part. He's like, my baby mama was asking me about moving in that house. And he was like, basically, as my wife, how do you feel about me just letting my baby mama stay in the house with the kids? And I was like, whatever you feel like you need to do. There was also an instance when I went home. Now, I just let him know I'm going home to visit some of my family. I did not want him to go home with me. This man practically begged me to go home with me. Now, remember, nobody knew I was married. Only two people, my sister and my cousin, knew that I was actually married. So it wasn't.
So hold on. You didn't wait the year either, though. Mmm.
A lot of people didn't know. People thought I was engaged. So I'm like, damn, if he go home with me, he talk too much. So he gonna tell them that I'm married. So I'm gonna have to go ahead and they're gonna be looking at me and I gotta explain that. So I went ahead and shot my favorite uncle because that's who I was going to see. So I shot my favorite uncle a text and I was like, I'm gonna just go ahead and tell you now that I'm married. And he was like, what? Man, stop playing. You're not married because it's me. So I was like, I got married. And he was like, really? And he was like, I'm so happy for you. I didn't expect that, but I'm so happy for you. Let us know when we gonna meet. And I was like, I'm gonna come down there and he's gonna come. And he was like, well, I'm gonna tell your auntie. And I'm like, so I had to tell them, and only because I knew when we got down there that he just talked so much. And he was just gonna tell them that we was married. And I didn't want it to come from him. So I just went ahead and laid the foundation. But so there's that. When we went to visit his family, I met his sister, and his sister kept saying to him, don't mess this up. But he was just telling everybody. And I did not want nobody to know. I did not want anybody to know. So back to the divorce filings. So, I was also he had put me in the family group chat. I told him not to. I didn't want to be in the family group chat. So because he filed a divorce wrong on purpose to what he was trying to do was extend our marriage and basically hope that I was going to change my mind and hope that we could work it out. So I got a message from the family group chat, basically like inviting me to something and them not even know that we had filed for a divorce. So I was pissed off. So I just started going off in the group chat, telling them how much of a fucking loser that he was, just calling him names, just going off in the group chat. And I told him to take me out the fucking group chat. I was just going off. And so he sent me an email and he was like, really? And so we went back and forth a little bit in the email. And I was like, you know what? Fuck this. Called a lawyer, called an attorney. And I was like, I want to file for a divorce. And so they ask you the typical questions. We don't have kids. We don't have assets. He filed it wrong. And that's why we're here. He's a lawyer and he was supposed to file it and he didn't do it right. This is why we're here. So I asked her about the annulment process because y'all, this happened within 2.5 month time span. All of this. So I asked her, like the process. And so she explained it to me. And she was like, the marriage is short. It doesn't necessarily mean that you can get an annulment. Now you can. Like, it's steps that we're going to have to take. You got to prove some stuff, and it's going to make the process a little bit more complicated, and it's going to be a little bit more expensive. And she was like, now what you could do is, because y'all have already both agreed to file, it's non-contested. So because it's non-contested, it's nothing for me to file it. Now, again, you're still going to have to wait those 30 days. You got that 30-day waiting period. But again, because y'all have already basically started the process and he agrees, as long as he doesn't contest it, you should be good to go. So she starts the process for me, and she calls me and tells me that I have to come in the office or whatever to sign the paperwork. So she had already sent the paperwork over to him, for him to sign. And she just let me know like he was asking a bunch of questions. And so I signed the paperwork, waited the 30 days, and the divorce was finalized. Part 11, life after the divorce. So everything was good. He went his way, I went my way. Life continued to go on. And let me just say this, I have a dog, and my dog hated him. They hate to Rocky, but my dog hated him. So life went on. So about 2 months ago, I get a phone call in the middle of the day from a random phone number. My son is in school, so I'm thinking maybe somebody calling from the school. It's the middle of the day, or it's a job or something that I've applied to. So I answer the phone. I hear his voice, and he's like, "Hi, can I speak to Lakita?" And I'm like, "Who is this?" And he was like, "You don't know my voice?" And I'm like, "No, I don't." And I hung the phone up. But in my mind, I knew his voice, but I'm like, what does he want after all this time? Because after the papers were signed and it was finalized, we did not communicate. It was literally over. And so I was like, let me get my iPad and record this conversation because I know he's going to call back. And this man is manipulative. He's narcissistic. I don't know what he finna say out of his mouth. So let me have this on just in case. So he calls back and I answer again. And so he's telling me, this is so and so. So I'm like, and he was like, hey. I'm like, what's up? And he like, how you doing? And I'm like, I'm fine. What you calling me for? And he was like, I ain't calling, no, nothing like that. I was just calling to let you know that I've been thinking about us and I've been thinking about the marriage, and I just wish that it would have turned out better. I just wanted to let you know that you were a great wife, and I just didn't appreciate what we had at the time, and I wish this would have turned out better. So remember now, I told y'all I think that he had got a new supply and he was beating his chest. So whatever situation he was in that had kept him quiet, kept him away, and kept him at bay, I guess it didn't work out the way that he thought it would. So he was just basically telling me how good of a woman I am, and it wasn't my fault, and it was his fault that it ended the way that it ended, and he just wished it would have been better. So then he starts asking about my son, and I'm not mad, I'm not upset, I'm not angry. I'm far removed from the situation, y'all. I was able to get out of it. So outside of my money, I wanted him to give me my money back. But whatever, I'll take that. I was able to get out. So I don't have anger. I will not converse with him. No. But I'm not mad angry. And so he's telling me his kids are good. And I'm like, where's this going? And I'm listening because I know it's headed somewhere. And I'm just waiting on it to get where it needs to be, where he trying to get it. Because he's long-winded. I'm like, where he going with this? So he goes, in spite of it all, I still view you in a high regard. And at the end of the day, you were this and you were that. And so he goes, I would really like if me and you could go out. If we could meet and we could talk over dinner or something. So I go, I don't think my man would appreciate that. He was like, oh, you're in a relationship, but you know what? I wouldn't expect nothing less because you're an amazing woman. So tell him he's a lucky guy. And I said, yeah, I'm engaged. And he already knows that. And he was like, oh, he was taken aback and speechless, but he was still trying to still hold his chin up. So he was just like, oh, congratulations. I think that that's amazing. And whatever you need, if you ever need something, please don't hesitate to call me. I'm just a phone call away. You'll always have a friend in me, and just all of that. And y'all, I just hung up the phone and blocked the number. And so I haven't heard from him since. But that is my story. And again, I told this story because I want women out there to know that just because you're in a marriage or you're in a situation, that does not mean you can't get out of it. If you get it too soon, like I did, if you waited a long time and you're in a situation and you're ready to get out of it, you can get out of it. So yes, y'all, I didn't know him in the way that I should have known him, but being who he is, I don't think I would have ever known who he is.
Right, messy family. That was a story to unfold. What do you guys think? I feel like it would have hit different if this was like they was married for a while, then he cheated. But the fact that they were married within like a few months and divorced within a few months, it's almost like y'all was really in a talking stage that y'all turned into a marriage. Like I want marriage to work for people. I will never look at someone and tell them like the bad things that come with marriage because I was so young when I got into it, so I can't really talk about it too much. I feel like it's still more stuff you can learn. I like listening to people who've been married for a long time because I'm talking like 10 plus years or so because those people tend to like be able to walk you through tougher times. And that's what I feel like she should have did. She should have listened to that older woman who was telling her, like, maybe grandma was probably, no, I ain't gonna talk about your grandma like that, but maybe she was a little spiteful towards her husband. I don't know what she told you that really turned you off towards marriage, but I wish you would have listened, like talked to a few more people and not just one, because one person might have had a bad experience and they'll tell you all of these negative things, but reality is that's not the case for everyone. You know what I mean? You can learn to adapt in these marriages, but like I said, just you gotta be open to it, and it seems like you never was really open to it. It was always a one-way streak. So I mean, I'm not justifying what he did. If this story is true in any way and fashion, then yeah, he deserved to, I would, yeah. I mean, if he's cheating on you, if he's like having sexual relationship with other women, then yeah, you out. It makes sense. At first, it was just not making sense. So shout out to her. I mean, it takes a lot of courage to get out on this internet and tell your story to people. So I shout out to you. You know, I hope you guys like enjoyed the story throughout. It kept me like on my edge of my feet. I was just like, just trying to like to pick why. That's why my face was looking the way it was. But Messy fam, I appreciate you. If you watched the video all the way to the end, we family, right? I appreciate you. Let me know what you think in the comment section below about this. I keep trying my best to edit these videos and get more out to y'all though. But until the next vid, peace.